Are you trying to lose some weight to fit into an old pair of jeans, but it just feels impossible no matter what you're doing? What if I told you you didn't actually need to work out, although working out would help, but it's not even necessary to get there? Let's talk about it. Welcome to the Dwar Training channel, where we help you reach your health and fitness goals without losing your sanity or consuming your life. My name is Mitch, and we're going to be talking about how to fit into those old pair of jeans. So this can be great for you if you're just starting to work out and you're not sure if what you're doing is working. It's gonna be great if you haven't started working out, but it's just daunting and it feels like there's so much work to do, and it just feels just like a huge dragon to slay. It's a huge undertaking. You don't know if you're up for it, or maybe you've been working out for a while, but for some reason you've plateaued and you don't know why. You had some success in the beginning, but you're not getting to exactly where you want to be, and you can't get yourself into that old pair of jeans. Then this will help as well. I'm going to give you 3 major points to consider, some actionable steps that you can go over to get into those old pair of jeans no matter where you find yourself, and we'll tackle some misconceptions along the way. But before we get into that, I wanted to give you guys a heads up. I've put together a PDF guide it's basically a one-stop shop about how to work out sustainably and feel confident about your body. And I'm pretty sure that's why we're all here. We just want to work out and feel confident about where we're at in our health and fitness. So that sounds like a fit for you. You can check out the link at the bottom of the screen. Today, however, but like this, if you found this helpful, you can check out the link at the bottom of the screen. It's all about how to approach workouts in a sustainable way so that you can feel confident about your body. We're going to focus on specifically fitting into those old pair of jeans. And let's talk about it, because no matter where you're starting from, either you haven't started working out or you have, there's this sense of desperation of like, what is it going to take? And do I have enough? Am I up to the challenge to making this goal a reality and all that type of stuff? And if you're already working out, maybe you're working out 3 times a week, 2 hours each time, it's like, how much more do I have to give? And I'm already doing a ton of ab exercises. Well, how come I'm not losing this last little bit of fat, and how come I can't get back into this old pair of jeans? Like, what's the roadblock, and what's gonna take? So I feel for you guys, because if you're in that situation, typically what happens is people go off into 2 extremes. One is, you look at that situation, you're like, I'm not up for it. You get really discouraged, hard on yourself, and you end up quitting and stopping and beating yourself up. So that's one way that people can go. The other way is just to bunker down and work really hard. And well, if this isn't working, then I'm gonna work out more, and I'm gonna do more and more, and it just gets more and more extreme, where you're working out way too much, or you start starving yourself, something like that. And that's just, not only is it not healthy, it's just not even necessary. It doesn't require these huge extreme methods that some people go into. So I want to help you avoid all that type of stuff. I want to give you my story behind this so you can get a sense of where I'm coming from. So two kind of critical points I think would be relevant for you guys is, one, I used to be a boxer. I boxed amateurly for 2 years, and it was a lot of fun. It was great. I really enjoyed myself. And one of the things about boxing is that it's a weight dependent sport. So if you want to fight competitively in a certain weight class, sometimes you have to lose weight. And that was a huge challenge for me. When I was going into boxing, I wasn't, I didn't have a ton of weight on me to begin with. And in one of my fights, they told me that I had to lose like 10 pounds. And I didn't know how to go about that. And they didn't actually give me a great framework about how to approach this at all. So I basically just ate less. I basically like half starved myself for a week or so. And I was so hungry. Oh my gosh, it took so much like willpower to not eat because my hunger levels were through the roof. And by the end of that whole process, when I went into the fight, I was sluggish. I lost a lot of my strength. I ended up losing the fight. I just felt horrible, and it was so bad. And then later on, when I started learning more about how to go about this stuff, I basically lost more weight, but I was not hungry. I was stronger and faster. And I was like, whoa, this is crazy. Like, I am putting in some work. Like, it does take work. There's nothing around that. But it wasn't, I didn't feel anywhere near as hungry. And I didn't feel sluggish. That was the cool thing about it. It wasn't like I was like just destroying myself. I felt great. And I was enjoying it. So that's definitely one experience that would characterize like how I approach this. And later on, I got injured. I had some shoulder injuries and hip and back, and I couldn't work out for a long time. 3+ years. That's how long that I didn't have like a serious, intense workout. In those 3 years, I never had the point where I couldn't fit into one of my old pair of jeans, ever. I wasn't even working out. And I never outgrew a pair of jeans. How does that happen, right? So I really want to show you guys this because it's great. I think it's going to help you a lot and help you avoid a lot of like unnecessary effort. I'm about putting in the work. You got to put in the work, but you want to work smart, and you want to work in a way that's going to be advantageous. It's going to be a good return for your investment. Let's not waste our time. Let's be hardworking, but let's do it in a way that is smart. So let's talk about 3 things that you need to know and be aware of in order to fit back into those old pair of jeans. So the first one, your food. It's very simple. You got to be aware of what you're eating. And a lot of people talk about food, they're like, oh, it's all about the quality, or it's all about the quantity and all that type of stuff. And they kind of put these 2 things, quality versus quantity, on like this scale or something like that. And you pick one over the other. It's not like that at all. It's both. It's always both. And if you try and pick and choose one and just do that exclusively, you will get into trouble, for sure. So let's talk about it. It's not daunting though. Like if you're feeling like, oh, I have to keep track of my quantity and quality, like it's not that insane. Let's go through it. Let's go through it in a way that's reasonable and is achievable. It's a reachable sort of thing. So first thing, let's talk about the quality first, the quality of the food. So what you want to do for your food quality is you're always focusing on your macronutrients, your proteins, your carbs, and your fats. What does that mean? Let's get into it. So you want to have all 3 of those in every single meal. The easiest one to start with, to start becoming more aware of, is the fats. So every time you have a meal, you have healthy fats. The great thing about fats is that it will control your hunger. It will slow down how fast your food digests. You won't get as hungry as quickly. And when you're not hungry, you make better food decisions and you just don't eat as much. So I love fat, healthy fats, but I love having fat in every meal. So good sources of fat. We're talking quality fats. I'm talking nuts and seeds, like cashews, almonds, whatever you want. Some sort of nut or seed, macadamia nut, something like that, okay? So nuts and seeds are great. Avocados, people seem to be obsessed with avocados these days. I think it's great. Have yourself some avocados. Coconuts are a great source of fat. They taste great too. I'm a big fan of coconuts. Olive oil, all those are great sources of fat. You have things like butter as well. Those are good. So you want to include in some form those types of fat sources. Then you got protein. Protein, there's a couple of great things about protein. The first one is it's similar to fat in the sense that it will slow down your digestion rate. It doesn't digest super quickly. It also, it's hard for your body to digest. Like your body has to kind of work more to digest protein. And so your body will actually burn more calories just digesting protein than it will other foods. And then protein is just involved with so many different things in the body, different processes in the body. A lot of the enzymes are built off of things that you consume in your protein. So you want to have a good quality protein source. The easiest way to do that is just to have a bunch of meat. You can do eggs, you can do meats, all that type of stuff. If you're vegetarian or vegan, there's other options there. I'm not a vegetarian, so I'm probably not the best person to ask about that. But the simple answer is have some meat or some eggs in your meal. And then the last one is carbs. Carbs are interesting because for like, if you're looking at like diet culture or whatever, recently carbs has gotten like a lot of flack. And I want to just say that carbs, they aren't evil, okay? They are not evil. You don't have to go like keto diet and have absolutely no carbs and yada, yada, yada. But you do need to control them. They are the easiest thing to abuse out of the three. They're not evil. You just have to be aware about how you're using them and how much you're consuming and stuff like that. So when we're talking about carbs, they're fine. The other thing about carbohydrates to be aware of is that sometimes it's just a timing thing. You could eat something that you're thinking about eating, and it could be helpful towards your goal if it was timed, closer to a workout or after a workout. So it depends on how you're using it. It's not just simply whether it's good or bad. When we're talking about carbs and good sources of carbs, the gold standard is vegetables. Just have vegetables. They're amazing. They'll be great. You can have some fruit as well. You want to bias more towards the vegetable side, but fruit is great. And if you stick with those two, you're going to be golden. Like, it will be easy. It'll be very easy. Okay, so that is the quality. That's what we want. We want those good quality fats, nuts, avocados, all that good stuff. We want some protein with some meat, and then we want some veggies. That's the quality. Let's talk about quantity now. Portion size. So whenever you have a meal, and again, these are generalizations, but they are a good place to start. What you want to do is cut your plate in half, right down the center, and half of the plate is vegetables. You can prepare it any way you like. Go with a stir fry or something. Have some nice spices on it. It will taste great. But half of your plate is going to be vegetables. Then you want about a fistful of meat or protein. Okay, so if you're doing breakfast, you have like a couple eggs and a couple sausages, but the total volume is roughly the size of your fist. And then when it comes to fat, you want to have something around the size of your palm. So not like as thick as your fist, but like the size of your palm. Okay, and again, these are rough generalizations, but what that will do is a couple things. Because you have quite a bit of protein and fat in the meal, it's going to control your hunger. And because the vegetables are slow digestion as well, that will also control your hunger. The nice thing about the vegetables too is that because it's not very dense in calories. Like, you have to eat a lot of food in order to get quite a few carbs and calories. So you're going to be able to have a large quantity. You're going to be able to have like a big plate of food and not feel hungry and not, put on any weight or anything like that. So that's the great thing. So that's how you control your food. You have to keep track of both. You have to keep track of the quantity and the quality. Keep track of both those elements and you'll be fine. That is the biggest thing. We could stop the video here and that would be enough. If you did that, like what I just described is like 90% of all you really need to know about food. There's little nuances here and there, and like timing and your own food insensitivities and all other little things. And so like I get it. It's not like the end all be all, but like that is a lot. That is a lot of what you need to know. And if you do that and you can modify things along the way, you'll be fine. But that's point number one. Let's get into point number two. Point number two is all about your sleep, how you rest. So important. And again, we're talking quality and quantity here. It's not one or the other. You have to do both. Okay? Don't try and pick and choose. You'll end up in a weird spot. So let's talk about quantity. Or actually first, before we get into it, let's talk about why sleep is so important. There's a lot of different things about sleep in terms of like your brain recovering and how your brain functions and memory and thinking. But what's more applicable for you guys right now, if you're trying to fit into an old pair of jeans, it's the stress hormone cortisol. So when you do not sleep enough, bare bones here, kind of like a general knowledge of what's happening, your body gets stressed out. It goes into survival mode and it sends out a hormone called cortisol. And what that does, your body's trying to survive. One of the ways it does that is to store energy for use later. If we can have an extra bit of energy that we can have another time to use, that'd be great for survival. That makes sense, right? Unfortunately, what that means is that you're going to be storing extra body fat. So your body can use it later. So if you don't want, more body fat, you want to lose some weight, you want to get into that old pair of jeans, you gotta let your body know it's not gonna die. Like you gotta let it know that you have regular rhythms and you're taking care of yourself. You got routines where you're taking care of your sleep and you're gonna be okay. So now let's get into the practicals. Quantity. You need roughly 8 hours. Just get the 8 hours. I know a lot of people are like, oh, I can get away with less and I can do this and I can do that. And I'm sure there's slight variances because everyone's a little bit different. But by and large, you need 8 hours. Put it in your calendar, get the 8 hours. You need the consistency of that. So having a set bedtime, it sounds so elementary. Our parents gave us that when we were young, but you need it. There was a reason why they did that. You need the consistency of when to go to bed and when to wake up. If you're going to bed at the same time, you're getting up at the same time, and you're getting 8 hours each day, you're gonna feel great. And that's not only helpful for like just in itself getting the sleep, but it's gonna help you do other things. It will help you during, your workouts. You're gonna be able to focus more and do everything better. It's gonna help you just in pretty much in every area because you'll be able to, give it everything your full attention. Okay, so get 8 hours consistently, and you'll be good to go. So that's quantity. Now quality, there are a couple of tips and tricks with that type of stuff, but the two basic ones is make sure your room is dark, very dark, just so you're not getting like light and it tells your body to wake up basically. And no screens before bed. 30 minutes before bed, put your phone away. Stop looking at the screen. That'll keep your body in kind of like alert mode. You want to let yourself calm down and get ready to go to bed and get ready to rest for the night. Okay, so that's sleep. 8 hours, consistent bedtime, consistent wake up time. Even on the weekends, wake up at the same time. And then you want a dark room and no screens. All right, that's point number 2. Get your sleep in order. Point number 3 is exercise. And I think this is what most people focus on. And like I was telling you at the start, I went 3 years without a hard workout, and I never outgrew my old pair of jeans. I did not put on any weight. How does that work? Right? It works because of the food I was talking about and the sleep. Now, if we're going to talk about exercise, if you add exercise into the mix, is it going to help? Yes, for sure. Exercise. I'm just saying you don't actually need it. I mean, exercise, but like, don't kill yourself with it. So let's get into this. What's a good way to approach exercise? Again, we got quality and quantity. Don't focus on one over the other. You need both. So, quantity. You want to get at least 3 times a week. Okay? Some people talk about doing like 5 days a week. That's great if you got the time. That's great if you have like very specific goals, especially if you have like performance goals and you're going more towards an athletic realm. 5 times a week is ideal. But if you're just trying to, lose a couple pounds, get into those pair of jeans, then 3 times a week is fine. It's more than enough. Okay? So 3 times a week, and then you want to start with something that is reasonable for you. So if you had a 10-point scale and 10 was like, this is so easy, it's impossible for me to fail. And then, 1 would be like, this is impossible. You want to start with something that's like a 9 or a 10. So if you have to start off with 1 workout a week because that's the only thing that feels reasonable, then start there. That's fine. If you're working on the sleep and you're working on the food, you'll be fine. You'll still make progress. And then build up to 3 days a week, okay? But no matter what you're doing in terms of, how many times, you need to make it intense. And intensity is relative to the person, okay? So what is intense for me might be easy for someone else. And what is hard for someone else might be easy for me. So again, you're using that relative scale. If we're using that 1 to 10 scale again, 10 being like, this is super intense, I'm gonna die. And 1 is like, this is easy, this is nothing. Then, ideally you wanna be at around an 8 out of 10 in terms of intensity. You can ramp up to that over time. You don't have to go into it right away. But, after a month or 2, you should be getting fairly intense. And intensity that I'm talking about is like, a lot of people when they're working out, their view of intensity is skewed. It's kind of all over the place. It's not about working out for 3 hours. That's not what intensity is. Your workouts could be quite short and they could be intense. So, if I told you to, run 400 meters, if you sprinted that thing, it would be hard. It would be really hard. If you walked the 400 meters, it would be easy. So it's not as much about the actual work, it's about how you're approaching the work, okay? The good thing about it though is that if you have a higher intensity, your metabolism is upregulated for a longer amount of time. If you do really low intensity work, so if you're doing stuff for like 2, 3, 4 hours and you're just sort of like going along at a gentle jog or whatever, that's not going to give you as much as if you do like 15 minutes solid hard work and then you're done. So you want to emphasize intensity, a reasonable intensity for you, but it's still going to be intense, okay? Now, the other thing about exercise that we're talking about, because we're talking about quality and quantity, in order to help you keep the intensity, you need to measure it. If you have no measurements, you're going to have no results, or at least none that you can see. So you need something to measure. The great thing about that is that now you're competing against yourself. You did this workout a month ago, you're doing it again, you have your old score. Let's say you ran, I don't know, I'm just giving an example, a random example. Let's say you ran 400 meters in 1:30. That was tough for you at the time. Now you do it in 1:20. You feel better, right? You're slowly getting better at what you're doing. But you need something to measure in order for you to see your progress, but also for you to shoot for something and to push your limits. Now, when you're talking about measurements, you can do soft measurements like, your effort level, like we were talking about before. That's a soft measurement. It's not objective. It's just how you feel about it. Another soft measurement is, like how many times you worked out in the week. It's not talking about the quality of the workout. It's just like you did the workout, you're building in the habits. That's a good thing to measure, soft measurement. If you're talking about hard measurements, you want to talk about like the time. So like the 400-meter run I was talking about, like if you have the time for that, it's a hard measurement. Did you get better or did you not? You could also talk about the amount of reps or the weight. Like if you're doing like a bicep curl, how many reps did you do? What weight did you have? Those would be your hard measurements, your objective measurements, okay? So if you keep track of all that stuff, that will help you ensure that you're hitting something at a good intensity, okay? So those are the big three, guys. If you do all of that stuff I just told you, and you work on it, and you do it consistently, you'll be able to fit into those old jeans. No problem at all. Not a problem. You just keep track of your food, you sleep, and you exercise, you will be fine, okay? Hope you found that helpful, guys. Again, if you want to get more info